How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is currently running a couple of sales in the July deal sale as well as the games under $15 sale. We've rounded out some deals under the price of $10. We already did a video under $5, so you can go look at that. These sales will be running until July the 20th, so you got a couple of days, about a week to pick anything up that interests you. So let's get right into it, and let's start things off with BioShock the Collection, 80% off for $9.99. This includes BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite. Three tremendous first-person shooters. I would definitely rank BioShock 1 and Infinite above 2. But 2 is actually a fairly good game in its own right. It's just that BioShock 1, and especially for me, BioShock Infinite are absolutely masterclasses in first-person shooters. I loved BioShock Infinite, and I just thought it was a tremendous game. Obviously, each game isn't, like, super lengthy by any stretch of the imagination, but given you're getting 3 games, you are going to have quite a bit of content to go through. And for $10, this is just a fantastic price, so definitely would recommend that. Speaking of first-person shooters and collections, Metro Redux is 80% off for $6. Another great pickup. I loved Metro 2033. Liked Metro Last Light even more. These are very atmospheric, narrative-driven first-person shooters. Really good sound direction, and the gameplay is pretty solid. I know some people don't like that Metro 2033 especially can get a bit confusing at times, but yeah, I thought both games were pretty solid as first-person shooters. I really enjoyed them, and again, engrossing narratives here as well. Now, if you also want to get Metro Exodus, they do have the Metro Complete Saga on sale. That's $15. And that'll get you the Exodus Gold Edition. If you want the whole trilogy, that's definitely not a bad option. If you want to go the cheaper route and just try out 2033 and Last Light, this is a great option. Next up, another collection here. We got .hack.gu Last Recode. Now, this is $9.99, but if you're a Plus subscriber, you'll actually get it for $4.99, which is just a ridiculous deal. This is a JRPG series that I was a really big fan of back in the PS2 era when it came out, and back then, you had to drop $40 or $50 a pop on each game. Now you're getting all 3 games better than ever, and a 4th smaller episode, all for $4.99. A pretty ridiculous deal here. If you're remotely a fan of JRPGs, I would highly recommend it. Do the games show their age? Obviously, the gameplay can get a little bit repetitive at times, but from a sound direction standpoint, soundtrack standpoint, and a narrative standpoint, incredibly strong. The story is just really good with a diverse roster of characters as well. Obviously, leading the charge is Haseo, who is actually voice acted by the same person that voice acts Sasuke from Naruto and a bunch of other iconic like anime characters. So yeah, there you go for that with a fun fact. But $9.99 or $4.99 for that is a great deal for this collection. Next up, we have Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown, which is 85% off for $9. A very, very enjoyable action flight title with one of the more underrated soundtracks you're also going to find in video games. This is just a very good soundtrack. Obviously, from a story standpoint, nothing to really write home about, but if you want quality action flight gameplay, this is going to give you that in spades, and it's also pretty content-packed, all things considered. I think you guys are going to find a pretty great game here, even if, you know, flight action games isn't your kind of game. I mean, there's not a lot to choose from, but Ace Combat 7 is a pretty darn good one, and if it's your first Ace Combat game, don't worry at all. You can jump right into here, and again, quite a bit of content here as well. Next up, we have Catherine Full Body Edition, which is 75% off for $9.99. This is a really, really good deal for a game that I initially played when it came out. I want to say back in 2012 when the original Catherine came out, like 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. It's a very quirky, zany game, not for everyone. Has some interesting puzzle gameplay, but you're getting into this game mainly for the story, and there's a lot of different twists and turns and directions you can go, so a lot of replayability as well. Yeah, very much a story-driven game. Definitely a little bit over the top, a little bit wacky at times, but an enjoyable game nonetheless, and $9.99 is a great price for it. That was really my main issue with Catherine Full Body when it was coming out. It was priced at a full price point, like $49.99 or something like that, and that was just a bit too expensive. At $9.99, 100% would give it a recommendation. Next up, we have Okami HD from Capcom, $9.99. This is a game that I initially played back on the PS2, and it's considered one of the best PS2 games of all time. Like, usually among the top 3, it's like Okami, Shadow of the Colossus, and maybe you'll have like a GTA or something in there. Or potentially like Eco or something like that. The PS2 had a lot of great games, let's just say that, and Okami usually ranked among the top 3 to 5 of them, and for good reason. This is just a tremendous game that has a beautiful, beautiful art style that has just aged tremendously well. Great soundtrack here as well, and guess what? If you buy this game, maybe you can fuel Capcom to one day do a legitimate Okami 2. We got Okami done on the DS, but I want an Okami 2 someday. Will it happen? Probably not, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't play Okami, and Okami HD is great. $9.99 is well worth it. Next up, we have Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy. Now, this includes Storm 1, 2, and 3. This is a pickup for those of you that already have Storm 4, which it's also available in PS Plus Extra, so that is something to consider. Otherwise, if you want a copy of Storm 4 as well, wait for the Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Legacy Collection to go on sale. That's full price right now, not worth it, but if you just want the first 3 games, Storm 1, 2, 3... is a great pickup at $9.99. Storm 1 definitely doesn't do a great job of retelling the events of the anime. Storm 2 does a really good job of doing that. Storm 2 goes from the beginning of Shippuden until the end of the Pain arc. And then Storm 3 is pretty good in its own right as well. Storm 2, in my opinion, is the highlight from a single-player standpoint, but Storm 1 is enjoyable. All 3 games are pretty good. If you're a Naruto fan, you're gonna have a good time with it. And going through from... with Storm 2, the single-player campaign, going through from the beginning of Shippuden until the end of the Pain arc, in my opinion, that's the strongest, stretch of Naruto that you're gonna come across. So, yeah, that's why I think it's the strongest game, especially from a single-player standpoint. Alright, moving on from that, we got a couple of Resident Evil games. Gonna mention them all here at once. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, $9.99, definitely worthwhile if you have a PlayStation VR headset. It's pretty trippy in that as well. Worthwhile pickup there. Resident Evil 4, $7.99. Game is obviously gonna get remade. It's gonna have a couple of changes, but it's gonna stay, somewhat true to the original. It's still a little bit in flux, but, they are going to alter some things so it lines up with RE a little bit more, but Resident Evil 4, the original, is still worthwhile to play through, and then you can, have a direct comparison to the new one when it comes out in 23. And then Resident Evil Revelations, 60% off for $8. You know what? If Capcom's going to keep remaking Resident Evil games, give Resident Evil Revelations a remake. Nonetheless, I still enjoyed my time with Revelations, and I initially played it on the 3DS when it came out, but then I played the remastered version, and that's when I really started enjoying it, and I had a good time with it. Is it worth, like, the full $50 that it came out at? Absolutely not, but at $8, I think it's a pretty good deal, and one of those Resident Evil titles that does fall under the radar a little bit, so I wanted to give mention to all those Resident Evil games. Next up, Risk of Rain 2, 75% off for $6.24. This is a game that I've been playing quite a bit of recently. I played it when it came out, but I got really addicted to it recently. It's a very challenging game, and I get absolutely whooped in this game, but it's very addicting. You got a couple of different play styles as well. If you want to play with friends, you can do that. On top of that, if you can convince a couple buddies to pick it up. It's just a very enjoyable game, just going through the loops over and over again, definitely quite addicting, and the art style is great as well, so $6.24, thought that was a pretty solid discount for Risk of Rain 2. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Syndicate, 70% off for $8.99. Now, I mentioned it in a recent video, but AC Syndicate is a game that has some issues on the PlayStation 5, seems to have some visual bugs that Ubisoft is keenly aware of at this point, and it looks like they are going to fix that up. However, with that being said, game is probably going to end up in Plus Extra at some point, so that is something to keep in mind. Otherwise, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a game that I really enjoyed, and I'm planning on doing a replay of soon. It's just that I heard everything about the PS5 issues, and that's kind of throwing a monkey wrench into my plans. But we'll see. I'll figure out a way to replay it. If I gotta dig up the PS4 play it on PC, I'll figure it out. But AC Syndicate's a really enjoyable game. It has a huge open world. I thought the traversal was really well done. Like the 2 main characters. And yeah, story was pretty good. $9 for it. I think it's a great pickup, so definitely would give that a shout. Next up, we got Burnout Paradise Remastered. 70% off for $6. This game came out back in January of 2008, so 100% shows its age quite a bit. Like, there's some mechanical issues with the game that you can tell that, yeah, it's a game from, like, 14 years ago, but it's still an enjoyable open world arcade racer with an awesome soundtrack. Now, licensed music is always going to be a bit subjective, but when you got like Kill Switch Engage in there, yo, that's like right up my alley. Like, I'm going to enjoy that quite a bit. You got a song that was done by the band that did the theme song of the original Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, how about that for convoluted video game facts? But nonetheless, Burnout Paradise Remastered from a gameplay standpoint has some great gameplay. Quite a bit of content, got all these billboards to destroy, all these side activities and whatnot, and a very enjoyable arcade racer here. If you want a racing game that you can just go into and have a good time with, Burnout Paradise is going to offer you that. Next up, we got Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered, 80% off for $9.99. I think this is a stronger game than Ni no Kuni 2. Ni no Kuni 2 is good as well, but Ni no Kuni 1 I thought offered a very engaging story. Definitely some issues given, it's a 2010 game and it has some redundant elements as well, but art style is great. Another one of those JRPGs that has just aged tremendously, man. And if you want to get a JRPG to get you into the genre, I think Ni no Kuni is a pretty solid one. Very charming story, very charming cast of characters. $9.99, not a bad pickup there. Next up, DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, 75% off for $9.99 as well here. This is a game that got some criticism when it initially came out back in, I want to say like 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. I think a lot of that was because of the change of, you know, the direction from the original Devil May Cry games. However, if you assess it for an action game, it's a good action game. It's got a lot of great gameplay. The story isn't something I really got into. Soundtrack was pretty decent, and it's an action game by Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory is one of the better development studios on the planet, and especially when it comes to action games. And in my opinion, they shined again when it came to DMC Devil May Cry, and with the Definitive Edition, you get some DLC content as well. $9.99, not a bad pickup there. Next up, we have Infamous Second Son, which is available for $9.99. Now, it's also available in the PlayStation Plus Extra catalog, so if you're a subscriber, you can play that way. Imagine most of you guys already played the game, but Infamous Second Son is a game that I love, and hearing that Sucker Punch isn't working on an Infamous game right now, or there is just no Infamous game in development, just stabbed to the heart. So disappointed by that, but nonetheless, Second Son was a good game. While I didn't like it as much as Infamous 1 and 2, I didn't vibe with Delsin as much as I did with Cole, especially Cole from Infamous 1. He's still a pretty cool character, and especially with the different routes you can go through, there's a good bit of replayability here, and the different powers you utilize, it's pretty good. Definitely, it kind of did feel like when I played it back in early 2014, it seemed like the game was a tad bit rushed, given that, you know, they wanted to get big exclusives out within the launch window of the PlayStation 4, but I understand that. Still turned out to be a good game, and $9.99 I think is a good price. And then lastly, want to give a shout out to Zone of the Enders, the second one on Mars, 80% off for $6. You know, everybody's talking about this 35th anniversary of Metal Gear that just passed or whatever, but Zone of the Enders, man, that's one of the franchises that Kojima was involved in that unfortunately has been lost in the wayside, and Konami was involved with as well. That unfortunately has been lost in the ether, and you guys know me, I'm a sucker for quality mecha action games, in Zone of the Enders, while its narrative was a little bit over the top, a little bit wacky there, the gameplay was solid, and I am a sucker for mechs, and if you are too, $6 for robot action is always a good time, so wanted to give that a shout as well. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great games on sale right now across both sales running. July sale's about to end on, well, you got until the 20th, so you got a little bit of time. Take your time picking out what games you want to pick up, and if you're not picking up anything, don't worry, because as you guys know, those sales are going to end this coming, Thursday? More sales are going to come. I should say next Thursday, yeah, because it'll be like 3 a.m. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.